Ready? All right, welcome to the Valle podcast, episode number 8. Today, I'm extremely excited to have my guest here. He's an entrepreneur, former pro ball player, and what you may know him most for is his YouTube channel, You Go Pro. John Madden, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me, man. I'm the guy always rocking the Valle glove in the videos.
You are.
I always have a Valle glove.
And the hat. And the hat. The hat is always in there, too.
I need a new one.
We'll hook you up. We'll hook you up on this trip.
Thanks, man. I'm happy to be here, man.
Thanks, man. I'm excited. So what I think, it's my opinion, but I think you're one of the legends of the baseball YouTube channels.
Thank
I really think that, and obviously you've grown it to a huge amount. Like what, I know you started early in the YouTube kind of era, but like what kind of enabled you to grow to the height that you're at right now, I guess?
I think just trying to put out good information, and no BS, just tell it how, like it was. Back then I was playing baseball. I was still playing professional ball when I first started. And my whole idea or vision was to show the younger guys what it was like and what I was doing and what was happening. And that was early on. And it took a while to grow for sure, but over time it did.
So like one of the original day in the life was probably, that's big now, right? On TikTok, you were doing it back in, what year was that when you started?
Yeah, so I remember I was playing for Lake Elsinore, California in the Padres organization, 2008. And I went to a Walmart and I bought what I thought was the best camera that I could afford at the time on a minor league salary. It was like $200, but it was like a 780, whatever, the quality HD. 780 was HD back then. So I got that and I was filming like warm-ups and stuff like that and posting that kind of stuff to YouTube back then. So yeah, that was 2008, 2007.
Wow. Yeah. Did those like early on videos get traction?
No, they were terrible. Yeah. I think maybe like 50 people saw or something, It was bad, but little by little, the views started going up and more subscribers and just kept going and going and going. And here we are. I think I got over 300,000 subscribers now on YouTube and doing Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff.
Wow, that's insane. Like what advice would you give for someone, AKA us, but other people watching too, trying to grow like, whether it be YouTube or just any social media. Obviously you have other, like you said, you have these other platforms that you're on. That's kind of baseball or softball training specific, I guess, is kind of how I view your channel. If you view it differently, tell me, but like what's the best way to go about it? Is it just putting out tons of content, being consistent with it? Is there a certain style that seems to perform better? I guess what kind of recommendations, because you've been doing it kind of so long and I would consider you an expert in that space.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, consistency is huge, for sure. Just consistently posting this stuff, making it good quality, making it unique to yourself, and believing what you're saying, and don't give up. That's the good thing about baseball players. We're pretty dumb when it comes to that stuff. We're good at business usually because we fail and fail and fail and fail, and we just keep going. Like striking out, you keep striking out, and you just got to keep trying to hit.
Yeah.
So baseball players usually, and softball players can. Yeah, make it happen because we're very persistent.
Yeah. That's fun. Now you've interviewed obviously a lot of people. I mean, do you know how many people you've actually done videos with over the years?
No clue. No.
Would you take it like 100?
Maybe. Yeah, probably.
Is there anyone that kind of stands out to you as you think back over the years of you doing it? Is there something that kind of like was maybe one of your most memorable? Maybe we'll start with the most memorable because I have a follow-up question after that, but what will be your most memorable interview? And you don't have to say the interview with me with the Valle Shield. You know what I mean?
That was a great one.
It was a good one, but you don't have to say that.
Hold on. Nailed that one. That was a great one. Both videos. We did 2 videos.
We did.
And or maybe 3, but you nailed them.
Yeah.
Like you were on, yeah.
Besides that one, of course.
That's my recommendation. Just watch Dave's videos and do that, and you're going to be good if you want to blow up because he nailed those. In all honesty, you should go watch those videos. Great videos. One take. It was awesome. And the Shield speaks for itself. I love that thing. So that's an easy video, easy sell. I don't know, man. I love everybody that's come on. I feel like I've had a relationship with everyone that came on, and we've got to know each other and became closer. And I try to learn from everyone that comes on and grow myself. It's not just me trying to get them to say what I think is right. I let them speak freely and I try to learn when they come on. So every guest has been really, really great. And I've made some great friends over the years from that. In fact, Nick Shaw, he was a middle infielder for the Brewers. I had a business manager at the time. He was trying to drum up some business and get some sponsorships and stuff like that. And Nick Shaw just happened to start a baseball subscription box where, you know, you pay for the box, and every month a new box is delivered to you. It's got a bunch of goodies in it and stuff. So really cool. And so we reached out to him, and he was like, sure, let's shoot some videos. And we met and we talked and we shot a bunch of videos, and then we probably got together 5 or 6 times after that. Still great friends with Nick Shaw. So like, I mean, you know, like just a lot of great guys I've got to interview over the years, and it's been a real blessing.
That's awesome. Now you kind of said you let the guest speak freely. Is there ever been a situation where a guest taught something in your videos that you completely disagreed with?
Yeah, for sure. But I've never, you know, I would say something then, you know, I think I wouldn't go against it, you know, say, no, that's totally wrong. I would just say, you know, this is what I think.
What do you have an example of that?
Yeah, there's one, and that comes to my mind at least. And great trainer. He was my pitching coach actually in Binghamton.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Hector Barrios, great pitching guy. He is killing it, by the way. He's Chapman's trainer, a bunch of pro guys trainer. Tread, I don't know if you know Tread Athletics. They just did a piece on Hector and blew him up, talking about how he, you know, rejuvenated Chapman and came back. But one of the things he was talking about, I remember in the video, a lot. He's got a ton of great information. I feel bad for you.
Sure, I know.
What's up now? Thanks, Dave. But one of the things he said was like landing, and I maybe I misinterpreted it too. But when you were landing on your front leg, you want to have it bent a little bit. When you're pitching, in my opinion, you want to pitch against a strong, straight front leg. So that was just one example of what you were talking about.
Well, yeah.
But man, and Hector and I shot a bunch of videos, and he's got a ton of great information, and actually sell his target. It's called it's a life-size catcher.
Oh, I've seen it. That's his
thing.
Oh, wow, that's cool. I didn't know that.
And I think actually he came to the ABCA with me. I might have brought him over to your booth. But yeah, it's a life-size catcher, and those guys, Chapman, all his pro guys, throw to that thing, and it's just a great visual because it's got different catcher's gloves, targets.
I know exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's a really great product.
Wow, I didn't know that was him. That's his product. That's really neat. Obviously, you know, with anything, whether it be hitting, we've talked about it on the podcast with some different guests, but there's different philosophies, right? And is there anything in pitching right now that you kind of see as mainstream that you would necessarily disagree with, just not your philosophy, or maybe even some things you've seen that you would say is problematic, or nothing kind of comes to mind?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you one thing is and it's not for pitching, this is for hitting. I love everything that Teacher Man talks about.
Yeah.
And I want to get into that later.
Okay.
All right. Because I'm a huge fan, and I think we're going to talk about that later.
Okay.
But pitching wise, I think some of the things, or at least one thing that I hear all the time is get your arm up, you know, and this is not from like high level coaches, more at the youth level. But I think, you know, guys have natural arm slots. And I think guys that throw with a lower arm slot, it's okay if they're doing it the right way. So I think that might be one thing and we were talking about that on the truck ride here. Like, everybody's different. Everybody's body's built different. And I think you have to be careful when you're training guys not to make them all into the same type of pitcher or the same type of hitter. You want to try to build that athlete so they can grow the best that they can.
Yeah, absolutely. When you talk about arm slots, is there what is the correct way? Let's just say, like, I'm a low 3/4 arm slot guy. When you say obviously it done correctly, how can you break that down just a little bit more? Like, what would that look like, I guess?
Yeah, so for me, it's all about your spine angle. So I actually have a video on YouTube, one of my earlier videos, and it shows a bunch of different pitchers and their spine angles in relation to their arm angles. And I put them all together, overlapped the pictures, and you can see all the different pitchers. So the guys with the lower arm angle, their body angle is more tilted. The guys with the higher angle, their body angle is more tilted this way. And I laid out all those pitchers, lefties and righties, and it almost looks like an octopus, you know, like all the different arm angles, but also the spine angles tilted. So you don't want a guy throwing, you know, straight overhand and his body's up like this, because then you're getting all jammed up. If he's going to be an overhand guy, he's going to be tilted more to get that arm up there. But if he's more of a side arm or a 3/4 guy, his spine angle is going to be tilted a little more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. Yeah. Yeah, and you're right. I think at the younger level, a lot of times coaches are that's just what they teach, right? It's just get over the top, you know what I mean? Get on top of the ball, which obviously we want to get our fingers on top of the ball. But what about, I don't know, what years did you play pro ball? What were the years?
Drafted 2005 and I was done 2011.
2005, 2011. Were plyo balls big when you were playing?
They were not. Nope.
What's your opinion on them?
So I've used them before myself and training guys, and at first I was against them. I always heard like, plyo balls are gonna hurt your arm, throw away the balls, you're gonna hurt your arm and stuff. But I have a great friend, Stevie Delabar, and we were talking about the story earlier today. He was drafted with me in the Padres organization. We made it up to high A, and he ended up hurting his arm. Was done with baseball, started training, giving lessons, playing men's softball. He was done. He was retired. That's what it was. But then he started teaching his players that he was giving lessons to a plyo ball routine. And to teach them in doing so, he was doing it himself and going through it. And he was like, man, I'm feeling pretty good. I feel great right now. So then he's like, maybe I'll let a few go and see how it feels. And he's like, man, I feel like I'm throwing pretty fast. Next thing you know, he's got a bullpen in front of some scouts, gets back in less than a year and a half. He's in the big leagues, ends up being an MLB all-star, all from, going through this plyo ball program. So, that really opened my eyes to it. I was like, maybe I got to look more into this and see what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because I do think back, the older generation was very anti throwing weighted ball. I mean, I know that's how I was raised. My dad was like, no, we're not going to throw anything weighted. And obviously it's shifted. I mean, would you say that's the safest way for pitchers to increase their velocity is through plyo ball routines or things like that? Or is there something else that you would suggest as a pitcher?
I think the problem with a lot of things today, not just pitching, is these younger guys too, is they want that magic thing that's going to get them 10 miles an hour or whatever it is. And there's a lot more that goes into it. You got to work on your body. You got to build a strong base before any of this. Like, yeah, I'm sure that could help you, but that just alone is not going to help you. You got to be strong. You got to be flexible. You got to build your arm up over time. So there's a lot more that goes into it than just let me grab these weighted balls and chuck them around.
Yeah. For let's just say like a kid's 14 years old, normal size body, normal, whatever your typical 14-year-old, and he wants to kind of take his throwing to the next level and like, hey, I'm looking to increase my velocity. Where would you steer him first, I guess?
I would say the gym. I'd get him in the gym, start eating better, talk about sleep. Sleep is huge, especially for kids that age. 14, they're probably on their phones, staying up too late. Staying up till 12, 1 in the morning, getting to, waking up, having to go to school, probably eating crap. That's where I would start and see if once we get that dialed in, then we can start talking about which way we're going to go. Obviously, we're going to, work on the mechanics. The mechanics, to me, in my opinion, is the biggest bang for your buck and the quickest way you can fix things. Because if you're leaking your energy through your mechanics, you're losing that energy that you have within you. Right. And if you fix that, you can get that back and instantly pitch faster.
Exactly.
Then the other end of that is how can we create more energy? And that, to me, let's get in the gym. Let's be explosive. Let's have good mobility. And then we can create more energy. And if we're not leaking that energy, now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah. There were some different guys in our area that were teaching pitching when I was younger. I remember, again, I don't know if these are still philosophies that pitchers teach. There was like a tall to fall philosophy. There was the drop and drive, right? And then, so I guess I don't even know all the details of those different philosophies. I'm sure you probably know a little bit more about that. Can you kind of talk about those two different camps a little bit?
Yeah. So, I mean, they're pretty self-explanatory. Tall and fall, you come up with your leg kick and you start to move forward and fall forward and catch up that way. Drop and drive, you kind of sit more into it and then drive out. I think it's the best, in my opinion. Again, everybody's different, but it's somewhere in between that. I really used to, at least for me when I was pitching, I really used to sit into my back leg, but I didn't just drop into it and then drive out. It was more of a riding that down the mound.
The slope.
Yeah, and to me, my front leg was like I like to think about it as a counterbalance. So for me, having my front leg out in front of me and staying behind, like keeping my hips closed, that kind of let me stay back and into my back leg as I was riding down the mound.
Mm.
So yeah, for me, it's somewhere in between the tall and fall and drop and drive.
Doesn't it always seem like that's where it is anyway in most things?
Everything's a spectrum, like hitting. You got your
Right.
rotational guys and your linear guys, and really, I think it's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, and then going back to individuality of it, like we talked about originally, and I think that, pitching, I've always found, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I've always found that there's even more individuality in pitching than necessarily even with hitting. I think I would imagine, and even I remember when I was scouting, my boss used to say when we were scouting pitchers, you gotta figure out what type of pitcher he is first, right? Is he going to be a max velocity guy? Is he going to be a movement guy? And you see different things within their mechanics that you're okay. You don't have to change if it's a movement guy. If he's stepping across his body, but that's how he's getting his run. Yes, he's going to lose 1 or 2 miles per hour with that, but he's going to get that extra run, and that's okay. Right. Or he's stepping straight, and it's just there's different things within the mechanics, is how it was always explained to me, that give you different pros and cons. Give a little give and take, and I think, if you pulled up. I would imagine if you pulled up 20 different big league pitchers, you're going to get a wide variety of mechanics within those 20 versus maybe 20 big league hitters. I would imagine from the load phase through extension are going to be very similar in comparison to the pitching. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. I think the movement patterns are hitting probably a little more similar once they get going. But Coach Ferber?
Yes.
So Ferber posted a great video on his story about a week or two ago of these hitters all in it was their starting stances, but totally different.
Totally different.
It was like 20, he posted like 20 different ones, and it was just all over craziest stances that you could think of. And I thought that was great. Like just to go back to every hitter is unique, every pitcher is unique. But to answer your question, I think pitchers definitely can be more unique in their deliveries than hitters. And you got to think like the way their bodies are built. Like guys have longer legs, shorter torsos, or longer torsos, shorter legs, arms, different lengths. Like I'm 6'4", but my arms are actually pretty short, So I think guys are built different and they just move differently. So one set of movement for one guy is not going to be as efficient as that same movement for the other guy.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. What would you say, like for a younger player, maybe like the first off-speed pitch they should learn, as a younger player? All these kids, they want to, as you start progressing into pitching, you want that secondary pitch. You want to get those strikeouts. What would you recommend? You have a young son. So you're in the middle of this probably right now. What would be his first off-speed pitch that you're going to teach him?
I might not be the best guy to ask this question because I pretty much through my senior year at Auburn University, I threw 97% fastballs.
Really?
One pitch in Division I baseball. The only reason I started throwing a slider was because the scout said, "Hey, I really like you. I want to draft you, but you only throw one pitch." He's like, "Can you throw a slider?" I was like, "Yeah, I can throw a slider." He's like, "Why don't you throw it?" I said, "They can't hit my fastball." And he was like, that's a good point. So the last 2 weeks of the season, I started throwing a slider.
The last 2 weeks of the season?
Yeah. And the guy that told me that was the Padres scout. He ended up drafting me. And I ended up having the number one slider ranked in the Padres organization 2 years in, and the number one fastball in the Padres organization.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm not a great guy to ask that question to. I never had a great changeup. I would say the when you asked that question, my first thing was to say changeup, but that didn't happen for me. That's not the route I went. I probably can't teach my son a great changeup. Hopefully, I know how to hold it and grip it and throw it and explain it, but I never had a great one.
So would you recommend? Would you recommend even to your son? Would it be no off-speed pitch? Would it be just stay with the fastball like you did? Obviously that was successful for you.
Here's the thing with kids. The funnest thing about pitching is trying to throw a crazy pitch, whether it's a curveball, a forkball or some invented pitch that they just made up. Like, oh, look at this one. I'm going to throw the spider backspin hit. That's the funnest thing about pitching as a kid, right? So I'm not going to tell him, no, he can't throw those pitches. I'm just going to try to limit them as best as I can as he's getting older. I think it's good for coaches to teach correctly how to throw those off-speed pitches to young guys and let them play with it and try to learn, and maybe they develop a good pitch. But where the problem comes in my opinion, with young players, if let's say they get a good curveball, like a kid, like 10-year-old gets a nasty curveball, the problem is he's going to start using it more. And not only is that bad, but he's going to be used more, because he's doing good, which is not a bad thing for him, but pitch counts go up, innings go up. And I think a lot of like even out by us, there's a lot of kids that are playing rec ball and travel ball and taking lessons. And I think they're not managing their arms as well as they should. And that's when you get a kid that's good, you want to, it's natural to like, let's use this kid.
Absolutely.
But, it could come back to hurt him.
Yeah. It's an interesting point, too, with the fact that I didn't know that you threw primarily a fastball all the way up until those last 2 weeks of your college career. But it proves the point that a well-located pitch is effective, right?
Yeah. And what's funny was I wasn't a great locator.
Oh no, maybe I'm off.
But no, you're right. You're right. But I think the success I had was I was effectively wild.
Okay.
Where the batter also didn't know where it was going, so maybe he was a little scared, And I did have control over it enough to where, like, if I wanted to go inside, and that was a big reason I had a lot of success that season too, was because I was able to go inside on guys, and it was real. Honestly, it was not a physical change; it was a mental change. My junior year, I was terrible in college, and I said, this is it. Like, going into my senior year, I was like, this is my last year. Like, I'm just gonna, I didn't get any offers my junior year to get drafted. So I was like, this could be my last year. I'm just gonna go out there and have fun. And if the catcher calls fastball inside, I'm gonna throw it as hard as I can. And if it hits him, it hits him. Like, who cares? Like, that was the mentality that I went out there with. So then I did execute on more pitches just because of the conviction that I had behind them. Now, don't get me wrong, I plunked a lot of guys too as well. But, having that conviction behind the pitches really helped.
Yeah.
And pitching inside really helped for me.
Do you think that just comes with maturity? So, obviously, so you made that change from junior year to senior year of college at Auburn, right? Yep. And so, like if you could go back, could you have made that change freshman year to sophomore year, at the junior college, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but like, could you have made that? Or is it just a thing that as you grow up, you get more mature and you kind of get I guess a better outlook on the game, and you can't really tap into that at a younger age?
Yeah, I wish I would have made it,
right. Do you think you could have, though? Do you think you could have, if someone brought that up to you, let's just say, a coach pulled you aside and kind of explained that to you, or do you think it just has to come organically for yourself?
I don't think it would have happened. I think it happened because it was
the end.
That was the end. That was it. Like, this is my last chance.
Yeah.
Just go out there and have fun. This is it. So
yeah.
I think it was more of a timing thing than if a coach would have said it, or even if I would have thought it back then, like, I need to do that. Obviously, I knew I needed to do that.
Right.
I think if I would have sat down and had that conversation with myself and said, hey, what if you just, when you went to pitch inside, you just didn't care where it was going, you just threw it with your conviction, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. Of course, yeah.
Of course.
But the timing and the reason behind it really made it stick, and gave me that conviction.
It's funny, when we had Johnny on the podcast, and he talked about, it was a similar situation when he got drafted, but he went from freshman year, I think, into sophomore year at a junior college. And he just said, he's like, I just went all in on that offseason. I just made a decision. I'm gonna go all in on it, and then just see what happens. And that was when he had the big uptick and everything like that. So it's a common theme that I've been hearing. Kind of, hey, listen, I'm just see what happens. I'm gonna give it 100% mentally, 100% physically, whether it be my practice or whatever it may be, and just commit and not worry about anything else,
Yeah.
and just let my game take care of itself, basically, right?
Yeah.
Did you throw was it a forkball or splitter as well? Did you end up adding that to the arsenal in pro ball?
Yeah, that was later on.
Okay.
And so I had the sink. So my fastball was a sinker. I threw a sinker.
Okay.
I did throw a four seam every once in a while into lefties early in the count because I found as I got into pro ball that lefties would just start to lean over the plate, and then they would just drop a little duck fart out into the left field and get base hits on me because they were not scared of anything.
Right.
They would just say, "Oh, he's throwing sinkers outside," lean over and plop it out there. So I said, "Man, I got to counteract this somehow to get him off of that." So then I started throwing lefties inside early with a four seam, busting them in, not even for a strike, just as hard as I could up at their hands, get them uncomfortable. And then I would go sinker,
Right.
and maybe slider. And that helped a lot. But as far as the forkball goes, I ended up doing that later in my career. My velocity started coming down after a while. I didn't have as much power behind my sinker. Just getting older and wearing down. And then I developed the forkball, and that was a great pitch for me. It helped me with striking out lefties a lot too. I was good with striking out the righties. Like anytime a righty came up, I felt very confident because my sinker came into them and down, and they had trouble hitting that. And the slider was a good strikeout pitch off of that because it came out of the same tunnel, looked like the same pitch going two different ways. But for lefties, for some reason, the slider didn't have the same effect as a strikeout pitch. So when I brought that forkball in, it definitely helped out a lot.
Is that like, so I always heard growing up that a forkball like could potentially cause injury, like whether it be elbow or whatever. Is there any truth to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you're throwing a slip pitch, so I used to throw it like a slip pitch, meaning I would get off of the laces and put it deep in there, and I would let it slip out of my fingers. So I think, anytime you're throwing a slip pitch like that, I guess you have the potential for that. I don't think that's the reason that I ended up getting injured. I ended up tearing my rotator cuff and my labrum. But I don't blame it on that pitch.
Yeah.
I blame it on previous injuries and then not warming up good enough before getting in some of the games and a little bit of overuse. So, but their potential is there for sure. I would never teach that pitch to someone young.
Okay. Yeah. The hand size probably not big enough to it, and put a little more force on the fingers, and the tendons, whatever. Did you have like a lot of instruction growing up, like pitching wise? Did you have like a pitching coach? Was it your dad? Or, I mean, who taught you how to pitch, I guess, up into college?
Yeah, nobody.
Really?
I didn't do any lessons. I didn't do any special teams. I didn't have any coach. My dad was not a baseball guy. My dad was a football guy.
Really?
He drove a truck. He just, he would get me out there and we would play wall ball and have fun with baseball, but he didn't know how to teach me anything about pitching. He taught me how to be a competitor and how to be aggressive, which helped a lot as a pitcher, having that mound presence and that aggressiveness. I was a very crazy pitcher in high school. I don't want to say I couldn't control my emotions. I can control my emotions, but he taught me how to get mad and use that energy to perform. Like he was big on, imagine that batter, or if I was hitting, imagine that pitcher did something bad to one of your family members or something, and use that energy, that fuel to, perform.
Yes.
And I did, and I always use that. But sometimes I would go a little crazy and it would get out of control. So I had to learn how to bring that back and harness that over time. And I got better throughout college and in pro ball. I was able to control it.
Was that a mindset that you kept through college?
Yeah.
Like as far as like even putting yourself in that scenario?
Yep. I used to, this is bad, but I used to spit at guys, like not on them, but like they were up there. I would stare them in the eyes and spit at them. And in my head, I'm like, you're not going to touch me. Like that was the mindset I had.
I love it.
Yeah.
Now were you a reliever all the way through? Were you a starter?
Yeah, I was starting in high school and in junior college, and then I was a reliever at Auburn and pro ball.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So that, I think I mentioned this too on one of the earlier podcasts, is that I think that was also Pedro Martinez talks about that in one of his books as far as that mentality. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't know
Yeah, so his mentality was that they had his like his mother captive.
that. Oh, wow.
Yeah, like literally almost the exact
Man,
scenario that you
that's
just said to
crazy.
me. Pedro, that's how he pitched. And
Wow.
he said if he doesn't strike this guy out, something bad's going to
Yeah,
happen to
yeah. I
his
used to make fake scenarios in my head
yes.
like that. Like, yeah, that's crazy. I
Yeah,
didn't
so
know that.
Pedro Martinez. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. In his book he talked about it. Yeah, it's amazing. Like it's your mind is so powerful,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And it's funny to hear two different people that obviously didn't know the other one was doing it. And then to your dad, who's not a baseball person,
Hmm.
that's sharing that with you. It's interesting. I wonder what made him kind of go there with that as far as like
Yeah.
in order to prepare you that way. Do you have any idea of
I don't know. He was a
where he got that
he
from?
played football, so football got
Yep.
very aggressive. But
Mm-hmm.
I never asked him that. I never. Uh, I don't know if he maybe did that in softball and football.
Yeah.
I don't know. I never asked him that. I was young when he was telling me that, so I was just like, okay.
All right.
I did it and it worked, and then I just used it for like I mean he was probably telling me that when I was like, I don't know, 9 or 10 or something. I can remember being in little league like thinking like, just did this guy just hit my sister?
Yeah.
Like almost like Bobby Boucher water
Yeah,
boy.
the water boy.
Uh,
That's funny.
yeah. Oh.
Oh my gosh. So were you, is it fair to say, were you like a trash talker too, I would imagine?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess at some points in my career in high school, yeah,
Yeah.
I was bad. Yeah, I would, I would, yeah, it's bad. I'm embarrassed to say.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. We can't. I was in a small school, and a lot of people didn't give us any respect, and we only had like 9 or 10 guys on our team, and we weren't great on paper. But when we came to play, and we made it known that we were coming to play.
So it
And
was the whole team that way?
the whole team was that way. We went after it, and we weren't afraid to talk crap. There was so there was
Yeah, you got to give it to me.
there's a local team that was across town. They had a great team, great baseball team, great football team. They won the state champion in football and all this stuff. And they were the team to. They had a way, but they were twice as good as us in baseball. Like we were like man for man, which didn't stand a chance. But we had the energy, we had the attitude, and we wanted to win, and we wanted to beat them very badly. And so those games got really, really, really heated, and heated so much that their football team would be standing outside of our dugout waiting for us after the game. And our coach would say, we've all got to walk out together, so nothing happens. And we would walk out. We had little guys, some of the guys were tiny on our team, like, and these are state football champion guys. And we're walking out. And I remember some of my friends just looking up at these football, like, what? You ain't doing nothing. You ain't doing nothing. So walking to the field. My one friend's like got his boxing stance ready to go.
Oh my
Going.
gosh.
Everyone's talking, trash. Yeah, it was nuts. So yeah, it was. Things got crazy for a little while, but I learned how to control it after that. But I think it's important. You need to have that aggressiveness when you're playing the game. Like you need to be confident. You need to be aggressive. I think I went maybe too far on the spectrum sometimes early in my life, but I learned how to control it.
Yeah, I was going to ask. I mean, like how, because you do see different even pro ball players. Some don't show, and we don't know what's going on in their head. So there could be a Mariano Rivera who is calm, as cool as it ever is, but in his head he may still have those same scenarios. So maybe he's amped up. But as far as there's other guys that show it more.
Right.
Is there a balance of that? Is there a point when it takes it beyond?
Mm-hmm.
And what is that line? Like, what is the line that we need to draw? Especially for young kids, right? Young kids are watching, right?
Right.
And is there a line that needs to be drawn? Or hey, listen, it's a competitive game. Guys are going to get fired up, and we're just going to let it. Whatever happens is going to happen.
Yeah, if I saw my son do some of the things that I did now, I would yell at him. I'd be like, "What are you doing? You can't do that. You got to, respect the game and control your emotions and things like that." So, but I think this was high school I'm talking about. So, I think there comes a point when you need to have that confidence and the aggressiveness. And like I said, maybe I went too far. I probably shouldn't have gone that far. But yeah, there's definitely a line. As I got older and I learned how to control it more, for me, it just became more of slowing the game down. That just came from coaches explaining what that meant.
Mm.
Like, listen, when you get in there and you're giving up a hit or walking a guy, or maybe you come in and his base is loaded in a close game at the end of the game, like your heart rate's going to start, going out of control. Now, I think once it takes control of you, that's the problem.
Mm.
I think if you're able to, I would still try to put myself into that mindset of like, I'm going to attack you with my pitches. I'm going to beat you with my best stuff. Good luck to you. Versus like, I hope this guy doesn't
Right.
get hit. So I still had that mentality, but I tried to keep it composed so that the situation didn't control me. Like if things were going out of control, your heart rate starts getting up, your breathing starts shortening, and you're like, you don't perform at the same level as if you had the mindset of like, I'm gonna attack this guy.
Do you think the difference is just the outward showing of it? Because it sounds, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, it almost sounds like you just described when you were in high school, you showed it all, right? I mean, you were talking, you were verbal, spitting at guys, doing the whole thing. And then it sounds like your mindset never changed.
Never changed.
But it almost sounds, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it almost sounds like you kept it inward versus making your body language show all of what was going on in your head or in your emotions. Is that true?
Correct. But I still wanted to have great mound presence. I still stood really tall, chin up, and I still wanted to beat them so bad, so it was still in there. And I think the body language still showed it. I just wasn't as verbal and tried to keep it more under control to harness it for each pitch versus back in high school, I'd throw it and I was giving energy when I'm catching the ball, walking back to the mound. So now I was harnessing it longer so I could use it just for the pitch.
Right. You were still having a presence, an intimidating presence on the mound. Yes. But a little more controlled. Yeah. I used to tell kids, I don't know if this is right or wrong, but when I was coaching a lot, I used to tell kids, cocky is loud, confidence is quiet. And so, I would tell them that the mindset is exactly the same.
There you go.
So,
that was me.
But it was, if you're cocky, you're telling everyone.
Right.
And confidence is you just keeping that to yourself. But
Yeah.
I mean, you
have to.
You got, in order to be good, you have to have it.
I had a lot of talks with some of the guys, some of my friends that made it to the big leagues, and we were saying like a lot of the best players in the big leagues are riding that. Like they're figuring that out. Like they're ultra confident, maybe cocky, a little bit, but they're the best guys in the league are that way.
It's a fine line, right? And then we have seen guys, too. I think even at the big league level, and I can think of a couple of pitchers specifically that were very animated on the mound, and they didn't sustain their success for a long period of time. And again, it's a very small sample size. I could think of a few names, but and I'm sure there are guys, people think of a few names of people who are animated and they have had sustained success. So I don't know, but I always just go back and I think of like the guys like a Pujols, the guys like a Miguel Cabrera, the guys like a Mariano Rivera, a pitcher. It just seemed like whether they were performing at a high level or if they were having rough days, their body language, their composure never changed. And I think that's also, the thing with the confidence, or whether it be cocky or confidence, however you want to describe it, is that, going from like they say, going from a failure to failure without any loss of enthusiasm, right? So if I'm not succeeding, right, I still believe that nothing has changed with what I believe about my own ability, right? So like the Pujols, he goes 0 for 4. The next day, he doesn't doubt his hitting after he went 0 for 4. So could he be animated about it? Sure. It doesn't matter to him, but it seems like those guys always kind of stay right here, not too high, not too low. Just they know who they are. So again, I don't know the balance. I will say, as a fan, it's really entertaining. I enjoy watching someone who's a little more animated.
Right.
like maybe the Pedro Martinez or, some of these other guys, even now that are playing that are a little more animated on the mound or hit a home run and maybe celebrate a little bit more. That is entertaining, and it may even help us grow the game in those moments. So I don't know. It's kind of just my thoughts on that.
Did you see the Trevor Bauer clip in Mexico?
So which one?
That one got my
Which one?
Awesome. I got
Which one?
fired up after that one. But just yelling at the batters and stuff after striking them all out, and he's just like super trash talk. But I totally agree with what you're saying. I had a great coach say, "Don't let your highs get too high. Don't let your lows get too low. Try to keep your composure." And I learned that over time. But man, and even just watching that video clip got me fired up.
Pumped up.
Yeah, you got me fired up.
On that topic, actually, I think some of those videos when he was pitching over Mexico were some of the best pitching videos I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I've shared those clips so many times. The ability to walk through an at bat, like when he was talking about pitches and whether he threw a ball or strike, what he was trying to do, whether he was successful or not, he talked through it.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if you saw those clips.
Oh yeah,
those were unbelievable to me.
Yeah.
Like, because I did not throw as hard as you. I pitched a little bit in college, and the only way I was even able to pitch at the college level was because of strategy. Mm-hmm. And everything that he's talked through was like, man, I was like, yes, that makes sense. That's what I'm talking about. That's how I used to do, boom, like that. And trying to relay that to a young kid, sometimes it's difficult.
Right.
So I would literally show them this, like this. Look at it. This is what we're talking about with this right here. And I just think that was so great to watch that. Get inside a pro pitcher's head while he's doing it. On the top of his game, reading the hitter. Exactly. Reading the hitter swing. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm going to get him with this now. And it happens.
Yeah.
And it just shows you, like, the best pitchers, they're not throwers.
Right.
There's a strategy when you're on the mound. All these guys are good. All these guys throw hard. Their breaking stuff is unbelievable. 99% of them locate well. It's those little things in between is what separates even at the highest level. And I do that. I could watch those videos all day, literally all day.
Great videos. That guy actually is the videographer. You met?
Yeah, I remember. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
He's the man.
He's the man, bro.
Yeah. No, he was at the ABCA. He stopped by the booth. He's phenomenal guy. He said he was down there for, what do you say? It was like 6 months they were down in New Mexico for. Yeah. Which just.
So shout out to him too, because he's the man behind it, shooting the videos and editing them up and stuff. So yeah, really great stuff. They're in Japan now, I think. He's going for like the Cy Young of Japan or whatever.
Is he really?
Gonna be the first pitcher ever to do it, I think.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. That's cool. Well, I got a little off topic there, but that was good. I mean, I don't know. I had down next was I wanted to talk about travel ball with you, because we were talking about your high school and just the different mindset, but and as far as coaching, whether you had coaching or didn't coaching, and I understand that you didn't really play travel ball, right, until your junior or senior year or something like that?
Yep. Junior year in high school was my first season playing travel ball. And that's another thing. So we didn't have a lot of money growing up. We weren't poor, but we weren't, we didn't have money like that. I say like lower middle class. And so we didn't have money for lessons and travel ball and all that stuff, or new gear and stuff like that. So like my dad kind of made it like, he wouldn't make fun of the kids, but like we kind of like, oh, look at that guy got a new bat. He thinks he could hit. So it was like almost like you didn't want to be one of those guys. Like you're better than those travel ball kids, and you could do it what you're doing here. You're better than them playing over here. Like so that was the kind of attitude I grew up with travel ball, and I didn't play ever until my junior year of high school. And then I played for a team that was like full of studs. Like there ended up like 6 or 7 guys getting drafted up.
Really?
Zach Greinke was on that team.
Really?
Yeah. Like absolute studs. Like these were the best of the best guys out of all of Florida. So it wasn't like like there's a lot of, in my opinion, there's a lot of watered down travel ball teams now. Everybody's playing travel ball from 8 years old till up. So it's a totally different thing. Like back then, I don't even know if there was an 8-year-old travel ball team. I don't know. I don't remember the first time that I was offered to play travel ball, but it wasn't like it is now. And if it was, the guys were it was a better team, I thought, back then, at least when I was playing.
Yeah.
We're talking about in the 90s, when I was
Right.
coming out.
Well, what made you play with that one team? Like how did you like did your dad like help make that decision? I mean, you didn't play for that long and then all of a sudden to make the decision to play with that team, was it just because they were so good and you were trying to get recruited for college, or like what made you make the decision?
I think they saw me pitching somewhere, or they heard about me or something, because I was doing well and big,
Yeah.
big and throwing hard.
Yeah, sure.
I was a draftable body for
Yep.
sure back then. And I think that they pitched it to my mom and dad, like, he needs this to go, if he wants to play college or pro ball, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So I think they bid on it and we did it. And it was good. I actually did terrible that season.
Really?
Yeah, I did terrible. I started gaining weight. That was another thing my dad told me was, you gotta start eating, you gotta start gaining more weight, you gotta start lifting and stuff. So I got into the gym, I got really big, and I was eating everything. I went from 180 pounds to 240 pounds in high school. Yeah. But that doesn't translate to the pitcher's mouth, So, but that just happened to be during that time. And then I realized I got to 240 and I'm like out of breath, throwing like 80 miles an hour. I'm like, all right, this is not working. But in the long term, it did work because my body developed so much. I was like a grown man. I have a picture hanging in my room or my office that is of our high school baseball team. And I'm there with my friends, but they look like little children. And I'm just like this big, like my body was so more developed than theirs.
Yeah.
Because of that. Because
Right.
I spent the whole 6 months going crazy in the gym, eating. I was 240 pounds, like
As a high school.
as a high school kid, 6'4". Yeah. So, and once I got my mobility back and chilled out in the weight room a little bit, then it translated well to the mound. So that was a huge benefit.
What's your opinion of travel ball as a whole, I guess, what like now, because obviously it's changed.
Yeah.
So I mean, what's your opinion on it?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it.
No.
No. I think, especially at the younger ages, I've got a lot of friends whose kids play travel ball, and I love them and respect them, and I've talked to them, and for me, it's not what I want my son to be doing. The weekend, spending all the weekends traveling, and I know some of the younger teams, they don't travel far, but for us, I want those weekends off. Unfortunately, Little League is not that much better these days. Our Little League, we have late games, man. We're playing 8:00 at night for 8-year-olds. And, they're getting done 9:30. He's not going to bed till 10 something. I'm like, what are we doing here on school nights,
Wow.
So I don't like that either. I wanted to start a team this season and try to figure out something in between. That was my goal, was to make a team of players and parents that I knew were committed and were good and wanted to grow together, but also not spend weekends playing tournaments, just schedule games here or there, maybe a double header, and then practice, develop.
Right.
That would be my ideal goal, but it's a lot of work. It's hard to do, and to schedule those teams and get the umpires and
get the right players and parents for the
Right
team
players
that buy into that mindset.
Yeah, because I got to sell the whole concept.
Right. It's a whole different
Nobody knows I don't even know what it's called. It doesn't exist. It's not rec ball. It's not travel ball. It's in the middle.
It's in the middle.
Where you need
back to the balanced middle of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Right?
But how do you explain that and sell people on that?
Yeah.
That's the tough part. But
Yeah.
so we're playing my son's playing Little League right now, doing good, loving it. And we're happy, besides being out so late on some of these nights.
Yeah. So, I mean, in an ideal world, you would say, though, more practice at the young age necessarily than the games. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think the tournament play, playing 4 or 5 games a weekend is tough, man. And I used to train guys. I used to give lessons, and the young guys that started travel ball 8 years old, by 14, a lot of them were burned out.
Yeah.
They quit. They just didn't want to deal with it, or didn't want to, deal with their parents about. A lot of it was that, like, they're like, man, my dad's riding me, like, it just wants me to do that. Like, I don't want to. It's just like worn down,
Yeah.
from a young age, and I don't want that for my son. He's a multi-sport. He plays football. I played tackle football, flag football. He's playing basketball. We like to go to the park and play basketball. Hopefully we get to play basketball tomorrow. And I was the same way growing up. I played basketball and football when I was younger, but I think that's good for them.
Yeah. I think we had a Dr. Cypher. We talked with him a little bit, a sports psychologist, and he talked about taking a break from your sport and not playing something 12 years or 12 months in a year. And he talked about how that helps reduce the burnout. And that could be another sport. It's just that break. And you kind of actually talked about it when we were in the car about your son with football.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if you forced him to play 12 months out of your football, at the end of the season, he was pretty much toast with it already. But now you say, hey, you want to sign up again? He's like, let's go.
Yeah. So,
like, he needed that break, his body, his mind. He needed that break to be able to jump back in again. Yeah. And I talked with Meg about it too. Is taking that break, whether you're playing travel or not, taking a break for your kid and parent. Go on vacation, like take a family that doesn't have to do something with sports. That's not a bad thing.
Right.
Take that break. I mean, I would say the other thing is so for the younger kids, maybe travel ball, in your opinion, maybe it's not the best choice, but there's not necessarily a great other choice out there yet, unless you come up with this thing. Right. But what age would be a good, in your opinion, what is a good age to jump into travel ball? I mean, because the baseball world has changed since when you were playing.
It's different. It's
so
different.
I mean, even from when I was just a little bit behind you. Legion was really big. Some of these other things were big that aren't as big now, at least in our area. It's not. It's pretty much all travel ball.
Right.
So I guess what age would be a good age to kind of jump into that, Ferris wheel of.
I don't know. I think that I understand it from the high school level from getting exposure, like going to these tournaments, big tournaments where you're playing some of the best teams out there, and then getting in front of scouts. Right. Like, that makes sense to me for sure. So the high school level, but I think that even at that level, travel ball is so watered down that unless you're getting into that inner core group or that select tournament, you're not getting the same amount of scouts at some of the other tournaments as the ones that all the scouts are going to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know.
So if you're gonna do it, you have to be a dude who first of all has the ability to like play at that next level. Like, if you're just in high school and you're just average and you barely made your high school team and you think, I want to go play for this travel team so I can get exposure and go to college. Yeah, okay, but you're still not a college level player. Like, you're not, nobody's looking at you. Yeah, that travel team will take you and take your money, but like, let's be more realistic of, why are we doing it?
Yeah. I would say probably the counter argument to that would be is create an opportunity. Right. So, I mean, and I've heard you talk about this. There was a guy that used to play against in high school. I think it was Joe Torres. I think was his name.
Yes.
Right now, he was getting recruited. He was getting scouted, whatever it may be. And when you would play against him, everyone would be out.
Yeah.
That was an opportunity for you.
Yes.
Right. To showcase your ability. Now, they may have not come to watch you, but you could have shown ability while they were there because of Joe.
Yeah.
And I guess the other side of the spectrum is people are saying, okay, well, I'm just looking for opportunities maybe for my kid. Mm-hmm. Now, maybe this travel team that he's on, that we're going to this big showcase team, maybe they're not the team that everyone's coming to see, right. But we might play that team. Right. And the scouts might be coming to watch the shortstop for the other team. And if my son goes 4 for 4 with 2 doubles and a home run and a single, now all of a sudden his name is on someone's whiteboard. Yeah. There's the potential of that as well.
That's a good point. I mean, yeah, 100%. Exposure is super important. You could be the best player in high school, but if nobody sees you,
right,
you ain't going anywhere.
Right.
But also on the other end of the spectrum, I think a majority of the players are not, even if they had all of the opportunity and eyeballs, they're not gonna make it.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, be more realistic. Like
Yeah.
if you are that guy and you can, you have the ability, you just need the exposure. 100%
Yeah.
travel ball is the way to go.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people are playing for the wrong reason.
Yeah. I agree. And it's a fear of missing out, I think, too, for parents as well. And I can understand. I mean, I got two really young kids, so I'm not at that stage yet. But, the last thing you want to do is make a decision that is going to negatively affect your kid's chances.
Yeah.
And if all you're being told is that you have to do this in order for your kid to have a chance to play at the next level, I see the draw, and obviously in the concern of like, man, well, what if I don't? Am I wrong if I don't put him in it, and then he doesn't get to go to college and play? I don't want to, I don't want to do that just because of my opinions on the whole scenario. So I get it,
And it's tough too because parents are delusional about their children, and I didn't understand that until I had a child, right? Like I used to give lessons, and I'd be like, "What? These parents are crazy," and like I didn't get it. I'm like, Is this serious? And then I had a kid, and I'm like,
oh, I get it.
I get it now. Okay, you think this kid is perfect?
Yeah.
Like yeah. And I'm the same way. Like I love my son; he's the man, and I always want to be way more positive than negative about anything he does. But I try to remember that and try to have that lens, and say, okay, let's be realistic here. Like what's really happening?
It's hard to do.
Yeah, and I think I am more because of that. I am more on the
like downplay it.
I downplay it a lot.
Yeah.
I think I should be more, and I'm making a conscious effort of doing this at least in front of him, playing it up a lot more. Like when he's around, just saying how great. And to his face, I tell him he's the best guy ever.
Of course,
bro, that was awesome. Like we had to talk in the car. Like the last pitching outing he had, 17 pitches, 16 balls, 1 strike. And he's like, Dad, I only had pitched half an inning. I don't know why the coach took me out. I was like, I don't know, buddy. You did great, man. Like maybe mix in a couple more strikes next time. He's like, oh. But so I'm trying. I tell him he's awesome all the time, but I'm trying to be more positive when he's around talking to other people, just because I feel like I am very realistic when he's not.
Yeah.
And I think it's good. I think it's a good thing to be positive about your kid and see what they can be, the max potential they have, and put that out there in the universe.
Absolutely.
But also some parents are crazy.
Yes. All could be true.
Yes. All could be true.
Do you think and I know this, I mean, my dad played pro, so I grew up with this, but I'm curious from the parent's perspective on this. So your son is a son of a pro ball player. The pressure that can go along with that. How, as a parent, do you feel like you can try to navigate that with him? Have you ever thought of that yet? I know he's 8, so he's young, but like, I mean, everyone watches your stuff on YouTube, so kind of famous, so especially within this community, like how do you help him?
Couple things. So yes, 100%. I thought about that. I've talked to him about that. I felt that from my dad in football. He was a football player, and I felt like he wanted me to be a football player, even though he was not like that at all. Like he was not the type of guy that was like, you got to play football, you got to do this. Like he was like, you want to play football, you want to do it. Like he was very
chill about it.
Very chill. But I still felt that way. So I'm like, oh, my son has to feel that way with baseball because it's even more amplified.
Yes.
So that's something that I've thought about a lot, and I have talked with him about, and just letting him know, like, hey, you're having fun. Like, this is what it's all about. You're doing it for you to learn and grow and develop, but don't ever feel like you have to do this because of me. Like because he's on my Instagram and YouTube and stuff like that. And I ask him to be on it a lot of the times. And, sometimes he doesn't want to be. And I'm like, okay, like I get it. I get it. But I totally understand that. And I know it's going to be even worse as he gets older. Hopefully not.
Yeah.
But one other thing we do is that my wife and I, we sit in the outfield now. I'm behind the outfield fence. So
that's amazing.
I showed you, I was reading that book, Mike Matheny's new book, Dad Coach. And it's great. And he was saying in the book, like, if he wasn't coaching, because he came back and coached his son's little league team
Yeah.
or travel ball team, whatever it was. If he wasn't coaching, he'd be sitting behind the outfield wall, and I was like,
That's
"Yeah, I get
amazing.
it. I
Yes.
get it. Yeah, that's
That's
where
how
I'm at right now."
that's how my father was whenever any game. If he wasn't coaching my team, I couldn't find. It was like a game to look for where he was sitting because
Right.
I couldn't find him. There was one time I went to college and like one of my teammates is like, "Yo, Dave, is that your dad underneath a pine tree out in right field?" And I'm like, yeah, that's him." Just like sitting away from everyone. Didn't want to talk to anyone. Just wanted to just sit there and enjoy the game,
Yeah.
which definitely brings less pressure, and I think it's tough too because no matter how much and my dad used to have this. I mean, my dad put zero pressure on me, but I still felt it
Right.
from others,
Right.
because the teammates, it's like, oh, your dad played, you must be good, you have to be good because your dad is this, and so it's like, so it's a difficult thing to navigate, and I'm sure he'll grow through it and you'll help him through it. But I think that's great advice, even if your parent is not a pro or known in that industry, is that, hey, have fun, get better. That's what we should be doing as parents, is encouraging our kids that way. And if that's what they want to go all in on that sport, or that the playing the piano or whatever it is,
Right.
we're there to support that and then help encourage in any way we can.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what Matheny was saying in the book too, was like they're feeling that pressure already, like you
Yeah.
just said. Whether you're there, even if you're encouraging them, like, come
Yeah.
on, good job, like that's just adding to the pressure. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, especially if you're back there going, hey, come on, only swing at the strikes, or get your arm up, or get ready,
Yep.
he's gonna be like, come on, he's not trying to fail,
Right.
he's trying to do the best. And now he's got the thought and the feeling of your eyeballs and your words while he's holding the bat up there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, man, I just want him, I just want him to have fun. Now, with that being said, because I coached his coach pitch team when he was younger coming up, and I was really hard on those guys and put them through a lot of work. So when we're working and practicing and training, I'm, I'm
Sure.
trying to develop. I don't want him just to go through little league and
Right.
I want him to be good. I
Right.
want him to work hard and know the importance of hard work and dedication and discipline and all these things.
Right.
But when it comes to the game, like, he's not trying to mess up. He's already got the pressure.
Right.
Go do your thing. Have some fun at the end of the day. Like, this is a game. We're
Right.
trying to have fun. You're 8 years old.
Well, and all those things you just mentioned, those all transcend baseball, right? So it's the hard work, and all those are all life skills that you're teaching him when you're coaching that coach pitch team. Those they go beyond baseball. They happen to be in a baseball setting, but you're doing that at home, also parenting him. So like, it's the same thing. You just happen to be doing baseball,
Right.
It's not the pressure of you have to go 4 for 4, or if you strike out 4 times, I'm mad at you.
Right.
That's the difference, I think, right? Is knowing that, hey, no matter what, when I hop in the car, Dad's going to be pumped.
Right.
Hey, great job today, man. Hey, you threw 16 to 17, but that's okay, man. It was good, good day. Next game, we're going to throw a little bit more. We'll be fine,
Yeah.
So I think that goes a long way. You mentioned that you played travel with Zach. What was that like? What was his personality like on that team?
Okay, so I'm sure you heard stories.
Not that many, but go ahead.
Okay. Of Greeky in the big leagues, like,
yeah, the big leagues, yes. Yeah. So what was he like in high school, though?
Yeah,
Same.
Yeah, he was quiet. He was quiet. Obviously, a stud pitcher. Awesome. He was awesome then.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember he had a lot of. We used to keep the stats on the wall in the dugout, and he had like something crazy strike to ball percentage wise.
Really?
It was like 70 something %, which is like stupid.
Yeah.
And he was just nasty. Nasty at everything he did. But I guess, so funny story. He was going to sleep over my house one night because we had a tournament close by, and he was starting pitcher, blah, blah, blah. But then I guess he didn't want to sleep over or whatever. And so that never happened. But then later on, and I played with him on this team for a full season. I knew all the guys on the team. I'm not a quiet guy. Like, I talk to Zach and I talk to all these guys, and, so we spent a full season together. So like, a couple of years later, his little brother went to Auburn.
Oh, really?
I didn't play with him. It was after I left. But then I came back the next year, and Zach was there to watch his brother pitch. And I saw him. I come up, yo, Zach, what's up, man? How's it going? And he's like, what's up? I'm like, John Madden. We played together on these. And he's like, I don't remember you. And like totally big league me.
Oh no,
And I'm like naming everybody on the team. You remember this guy? Remember? He's like, yeah, I remember them.
not you.
And he's like, I was like, and I left there. I was like, all right, man, see you later.
The
I was like,
awkward
damn.
conversation.
Yeah, because he was already in the big leagues,
Yeah.
doing well and stuff.
That's
But I was like, man, oh man. But then I heard like a bunch of stories about him.
I did hear about
Socially
that.
awkward.
Yeah, I did hear about that stuff with it when he was in the
But
big.
no,
It was nice.
he was nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Pitcher.
Besides not
I
remembering.
mean, not. You're not bitter at all.
Not bitter at all.
Oh my gosh! All right, so you played that trial that 1 year. You finish up high school. You go through a little recruiting process. Were your parents involved in some of the recruiting process for you? If was there a process, maybe I should start there. And how much involvement were your parents in that?
No.
No, to all of the above.
No. They were very supportive. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. They were very supportive. I think they wanted me to go play baseball in college or go to college or whatever. But after my senior year, I had no options. Nobody was scouting me or anything like that. And I was a good player, a big guy, threw fast. I should have had no problem, but I didn't have the exposure. I didn't have the opportunity, possibly, besides the pro guys.
Travis Ball would have got it for you.
Probably. Well, I'd play it.
But I just thought it.
But so anyway, senior year ends. I don't have no opportunity. Nobody's calling.
Senior ended. Wow.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm gonna go be a truck driver. I'm gonna get my truck driver's license. That's what my dad did. That was it. Okay. There was an all-star game for the high school, and they called me, and I made the all-star team or whatever. So this is one game. So I go pitch in the all-star game, and one scout saw me. Seminole Community College coach saw me, and he said, "Can he pitch again the next inning?" To the coach. The coach was like, "Sure." So I went out there, pitched the next inning. Did okay, did whatever. Nothing crazy. Just got out of the inning. 2 innings, no earned runs or anything. I didn't think it was great. I was just there, all right, this is my last game. I'm gonna go be a truck driver, after this. And then he comes over after the game. He's like, "Hey, I really liked you pitching. I want you to come. We're having a tryout for the team. I want you to come." I was like, yeah. And he was talking to my friend too. It was a shortstop. You come too. Okay, come to the tryout day or whatever. My friend goes to the tryout or whatever. He's like, "Hey, are you coming?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know. I'm busy, whatever." So I didn't go. I didn't go to the tryout.
You big league though.
Yeah.
He's active.
He's active. And I didn't go. And then, so after the tryout, my friend made the team.
Really?
Yeah, he made the team. And then the coach called me. He goes, "Hey, how come you didn't come to the tryout?" And I was like, "Oh, I was busy as I don't know. I didn't have anything. I never told anyone. I never told my parents. They didn't even know I was supposed to, I was just being a dumb high school kid." And he goes, "Well, do you have like other options or something? Like, or, is that it?" Like, he was just like, "Why didn't you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I got a couple other options, like, he's like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah, I was like, I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing or whatever." And he goes, "Well, I really liked what I saw. I want to give you a full scholarship to come and pitch here."
Wow.
And I go, "Oh yeah, all right. Well, let me see. I want to talk. I'm gonna see where what I want to do." Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, "Oh, okay, all right." It was like, "Let me know when you find out or whatever." So I hang up the phone, and I go, "Mom, I think I just got a scholarship to go play baseball." And she goes, "You better call him back and not tell him you're going." So I called him back and said, "All right, I'll be there."
I'll be there.
Yeah.
Wow.
I went back. Went to the school, ended up doing good. Obviously got recruited by Auburn and ended up going there.
Wow. So. Like even just the process of like applying. I mean, obviously I'm sure that coach helped you, especially if he gave you a full ride scholarship. I mean, is there something, because when I used to coach some of the like 17, 16U guys, and they were going through trying to find colleges, and it's a big thing now. Obviously, that's the goal of all these guys, is just to play at the next level, whether that be, Division III level, junior college, Division I. Obviously, everyone comes in and wants to play Division I, but we understand that's not realistic. But a lot of the parents, I shouldn't say a lot, some of the parents, have no knowledge of of even the process, what it takes, what you do, you know, finding majors and just you know, financial aid that you can apply for and different things like that. Did the coach help you with all of that, or because it was a full ride, it was just pretty seamless, you know, as far as getting you in and everything like that? I mean, because it sounds like your parents didn't have that knowledge. Um, I mean, what should parents know? I guess when they're what are some things that parents should consider or know when they're helping their kid go through this, as finding the right school for them?
That's a tough question. Um, I don't remember. I don't remember. I don't feel like it was a big deal or a big process.
Yeah.
So someone
Yeah.
must have handled it for me.
Yeah.
Like I don't remember like being overwhelmed about it or anything like that. It was just you know, I had good grades. I had great grades.
Did you?
Yeah, great grades, straight A's. Well, no, I take that back. I had it in Florida. They had this thing called the Bright Futures program,
Okay.
and you had to get over a 3.0 or something to get a full ride academically.
Oh wow. Okay.
So I actually had the baseball scholarship pay for the baseball, and then the academic thing pay for it. And then they got 2 checks. So they would send me a check back for whatever the amount of tuition was. So I would get a check back every semester of spending money.
So you got the first NIL. What are you getting paid to go to college? Is that what that was?
I was getting paid. It's some loophole, some kind of loophole.
Really? So you got a check.
So they would write me a check every semester, but then I would use that for my apartment,
Right.
my food
Books,
and stuff,
things like that.
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, books were covered.
Books were covered.
But yeah,
Wow.
food and apartment and stuff. So I made out in college. Like I wasn't balling or anything, but you know, I had a little bit of money to eat, you know, some food and paid my apartment.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Now, I think like a lot of people have a negative stigma of JUCOs. You know, as far as like high school kids will look at it and be like, I don't want to go JUCO. I mean, one, where does that come from? Like, I mean, would you agree? Do you hear that a lot?
Stigma, yeah. Well, you know, D1 is like D1 or bust. You know,
Right.
like everyone wants to go D1. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, you know, you're the man if you go D1, and you are.
Yeah.
Rightfully so.
Mhm.
But the reason I like JUCO so much, and the reason I think everybody should go play JUCO is, first of all, usually you're not that far from home. Okay,
Yes.
you talk about like homesickness. It's a real thing. Like especially that first year. Like if that's your first year ever leaving your home and your family, and you got a tight family like that, homesickness is a real thing. So if you're going to JUCO, it's usually a little bit closer to your home. You know, you can go home on the weekends, get some laundry done, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, it's a little buffer. It's a good little buffer compared to going out of state to a D1 or something. The second thing is the classes aren't as tough as at a big school.
Yeah.
You know, so that's a little stepping stone too.
Yeah.
Also, competition's not as tough. So that's another little step. You know, it's just like there's so many benefits. Also, the scholarships, at least for us in Florida, when I played, I don't know how it is now, but JUCO, it was only full scholarship.
Wow.
If you got a scholarship, you got a full scholarship.
Really?
Yeah. So if you go Division I, like when I went to Auburn, I only got 33% or whatever.
Sure.
And that was a good scholarship.
That was great. That's a very good scholarship. Yeah. Yes.
So like that, I mean, that's huge as well.
Yeah.
And then just the extra 2 years to develop. You know, I just think it's a no brainer. Like JUCO, if you go to a good JUCO.
Yeah.
And we ended up going to the JUCO World Series. So it was like a great, like I got group chats with my JUCO teammates.
Yeah.
I still, you know, it was awesome.
Yeah. Well, and JUCO too, I mean, there's a higher probability you playing right away, which if you go to a 4-year school, a lot of times you're going to sit that first year, possibly the second year. Yeah. So you're going to that's going to help with your development is the opportunity to play. Potentially, obviously, still got to be one of the best pieces, but potential to play. You could get drafted every single year, keep your draft eligibility, right? So if you have one breakout year where scouts are watching you, if you have that breakout year, freshman year at a 4-year school, and let's say your next 2 years are down, chances are you may have already been drafted if you were at a JUCO school. You had that breakout year freshman year. So there's that potential as well. Yeah, no, I never got the negative stigma about it. I think it's a great option for most kids. I always tell kids, hey, listen, go for the Division I. You obviously bust your butt. If that's your goal is to get to that level, go for it. Go for it all the way. But if you don't get what you are looking for, JUCO is a great route. Especially now with the transfer portal and all this different stuff. I feel like it's even a better option, you know, for a lot of these guys.
Yeah, and like think about like in a Division I too. Like if you go straight from high school to a Division I, chances of you getting redshirted are higher, like you said. But also like think about it from a mentality perspective. Like, okay, you're not going in there and contributing. That kind of plays with you mentally a little bit.
Definitely.
If you got 2 years of that, you know.
Well, and when you're probably coming from obviously, if you're playing at the college level, you are one of the 6.7% of high school baseball players go to play at any level at the college for baseball. So you are already in
A stud.
a stud.
Yeah.
So you're used to being probably the best or one of the best on
Right.
every single team you've played.
Right.
And now you go to a college and you're not playing at all.
Right.
You've never experienced that probably ever in your career.
How do a lot of guys handle that?
Not well. Not well. It's tough. It's very difficult. So, yeah.
So let me tell you, a freshman that was at Auburn when I was a senior, Josh Donaldson.
Really?
Yes. And obviously it worked out well for him. But I remember him being there. He was just a little funny freshman. You know what I'm saying? Like it easily could have been, something where, because he didn't have his breakout year till I want to say his junior year in college.
Wow.
But I think back to that, like imagine he would have given it up back then,
Yeah. How good was he even as a freshman? He was just a young freshman when you were seeing it, but like,
great.
Was there any, like when you saw him?
No, not as a freshman.
Wow. That's cool. I didn't know you played. I didn't know.
Obviously he stuck with it and had a breakout year.
Yeah.
And is who he is. And
yeah.
But I just imagine like, what if he didn't?
Right.
You
Yeah. What so you after the JUCO you went to Auburn, but were there other schools that were talking with you, or was it?
Yeah.
I mean, how'd you decide on that?
So that's another funny story. Out of JUCO, I was getting highly recruited. I did very well in JUCO. We went to the JUCO World Series, so I had a lot of opportunities. I performed in front of that opportunity, so I had a lot of options. And back then, I don't know how it is now, but you were allowed 5 official visits.
That's where they fly you out, they put you up, they wine and dine you, type of thing, right?
So I said, well, I'm going 5.
I'm using them.
Yeah, I'm using all 5. Auburn was my third one. So I went to Auburn and I said, I'm going to Auburn. But I couldn't tell them that.
Yeah.
I was like, I got 2 more visits, guys. Give me a couple weeks.
What do you remember the other 4?
Let's see. I think I went to a school in Delaware, maybe. I don't even remember what the school was. I know recruiting wise, Miami, Alabama. There was a purple school it wasn't LSU. Somewhere in the southeast. Yeah, I don't know.
You went around a little, but you did. But you went around a little bit.
Yep.
You used it, and you ended up using up all 5.
Used up all 5 visits. Auburn was my third one. But I knew I was going to Auburn. After that,
what sold you on it?
Well, at the time, they had the number 1 facility in the nation. They had just
really.
It was like
that's
put like millions of dollars into the field and the stadium. And it was just a great visit. I had a great host. You know how you have a host when you go to the visits. He's actually the assistant head coach for the Florida Gators now.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
No way.
And he was my host at Auburn. I had a great trip there and loved it. Loved the school. Loved everything about it.
Wow.
And then once I got done with my visits, verbally committed, and then whenever signing time came, I signed.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's neat. Now fast forward to pro ball, you end up having an arm injury, right? That essentially ended your career, right? Put the finality to it. How was that mentally? Because I know a lot of guys that played pro ball and that their career was cut short from an injury, and they it was a tough thing to handle, feeling like they didn't go out on their terms.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like where it wasn't necessarily because they weren't good enough. It was their body broke down. Did you feel that way, or how was that mentally when you had to retire?
Yeah, 100%. Definitely felt that way. A lot of depression afterwards. But luckily I had already started the YouTube stuff at the time, so I kind of already had something going.
You had an outlet.
Yeah, I had an outlet, and I had started giving lessons too. But at the same time, it was still very mentally tough to challenge to handle.
Yep.
It was definitely a challenge. But because I had that outlet, and because I was trying to help the younger guys in the game, it almost forced me to stay composed and not go too dark, and too bad.
Yeah.
So that was definitely a big help. But yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah. I had one of my buddies went through this, and he wanted nothing to do with baseball for almost 2 years. Like, he used to do lessons while he was coming back in the off season, and then like when he had an arm injury, and so he had to end his career, and he was pretty. Went right into depression. He dealt with that, and then it was almost like this 2-year process, and then after 2 years, he was ready to come back and start giving back to kids and start doing lessons. And he actually is now in pro ball. He's doing he's a nutritionist for one of the big league teams. He's the lead nutritionist, so he's fully back into the game. But it almost hurt him to be around the game, because it just flooded back all those memories of what, hey man, I want to be out there still, and I feel like I can.
Well, you got to think that's probably, and for me, and probably for him, and a lot of baseball players, that's your childhood dream that you're chasing.
Whole life.
Your whole life. That was everything. And then you don't get it. You don't do it. And it's like, what do I do now?
What's next?
Yeah. At least like I was saying, out of high school, I was just going to go be a truck driver. At least then, I didn't get a taste of it. I was getting a taste of it. I was like, I was doing good in pro ball too,
Yeah.
So I was like,
I could do this.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like such a dream anymore. It feels like, this is a reality. This can happen.
This is going to happen. And then,
yeah.
So then that's tough. I did end up going and get my truck driver's license.
Did you?
Yeah.
No way.
Drove a truck, over the road for about 6 months.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you enjoy that?
At first.
Yeah.
At first, but I had she's my wife now, but she was my girlfriend at the time, and I was like, man, it's not, because I was out for 11 days and home for 3. I was like,
that's not gonna work.
Yeah,
long term. Yeah.
So I was like, nah, I'm out of here.
Yeah. I would say too. Back to the pro pitching, but like pitching in the pros has changed a lot since even when you played. Obviously we have like even the pitch clock. Would you have liked the pitch clock?
I worked really fast.
Did you? So it wouldn't have bothered you at all. Yeah. Do you like that change in general for Major League Baseball?
I don't see a problem with the pitch clock. To be honest, there needs to be changes. I know like there's baseball purists, and I love the game, and I think it's awesome and everything. But like, let's be honest, the Savannah Bananas are selling out games.
They are.
And Major League Baseball is not. It needs to be more exciting. So I get it, but you got to make the changes slowly because of the purists of the game. And I think, I love the pure game of baseball and how it is. I feel like I'm more connected to the old school side than some of the newer school side.
How many games does Savannah Bananas play?
That's a great question. I don't know.
Like, and I get your point. I agree with your point, but I guess a counter would be to that.
The scarcity of it.
The scarcity of it. Is that obviously if Major League Baseball only played the same amount amongst all teams. Think about it. You live in a city, you have a big league team, you can go almost anytime you want. They play, every other week. They're at home, versus Savannah Bananas comes to my city one time.
True.
I got to sign up. I got to go because I don't want to miss this opportunity to get it. If they had a Savannah Bananas team in every single city or in the major cities, would it still be? And maybe it would. It could be. And honestly, with what they're doing, it's incredible.
You're right.
What they're doing is incredible. They run it so well, and it's different. I almost look at it as different than even. It is baseball. Obviously, it's baseball, but it's different than baseball. It's not the same thing.
Just for the record, I don't think real baseball should be like that.
No, I wasn't. I was just saying. I didn't take it
be,
that way.
And a little more exciting.
What would you suggest? What are some things? I feel like Rob Manfred's taking some suggestions at this point. So what do you got?
I never thought about it. I never really thought about it. But, thinking of the pitch clock, I don't see that as a bad thing. I think it should be faster. The game should be faster.
Yeah.
It is very painfully slow sometimes.
I'm curious. I don't know what the stats are. Someone probably could find it out, and I'm sure the data backs up, because I know it did shorten the game a ton, right? I'm curious, did that correlate to more viewers?
I don't know.
Because the way I think, and again, this is just me thinking without data. So could be totally off on this, and I'm willing to accept me being off on this. But if I don't like baseball, okay, and I say the game is really long, I don't like it. It's too slow, too long. If they shorten the game by a half an hour or even 45 minutes, am I going to now turn the game on?
No.
Probably not. I wouldn't think. Now, maybe the data is proving that I'm wrong on that, and more viewers. There's way more viewers because the game is shorter. And then I'd be willing to say, okay, well, that was great. I'm glad they did that. Obviously, we want more fans for the game.
Right.
All of us want that.
Right.
Not that I'm against having it shorter and how with the stuff that they did. I think it's fine. But I do get as a baseball, I was raised by an old school baseball guy, so that's probably where I'm getting this from too.
Right. And don't show this podcast to John, because I don't want him to think any less of me.
So I don't know. I get anytime new changes come, I'm always like, it's like you tighten up a little bit to see what's going to happen. But it seems like so far the changes they've made have been pretty good. I mean,
to be honest, on the other end of the spectrum, what's better than a day game, throwing it on the TV when you're just laying on the couch, like background noise, or just watching for a little bit, well, it's got a good pace then,
Well, and even when you're going to a game, a game, the one thing I like about baseball is that it's an event, right? Which is probably why Savannah Bananas are so successful, because you think they're creating an entertainment event, right? Which is very cool how they do that. But I could go with my family and my kids, and I could be talking to my daughter and making sure she's eating, a cheeseburger or popcorn or whatever. And I don't have to watch every single moment. Right. Yeah. Because I feel like I'm going to miss something. I hear the crack of the bat. I turn my head. Hey, and then we're standing up. We're cheering. That's true. I'm not worried about, it took a half hour longer. Right. I'm hanging out with the family and we're talking, and I don't know. That's always been my perspective. Again, I obviously, if the viewership is up because the game is shorter, then it's a great thing. You know what I mean?
That's a good point. Now, on the outside of this podcast door, there's a photo of a 33 inning game. That would be painful.
Did you see?
Was John in that game?
My dad was in that game.
I thought I saw him. On the thing.
Yeah, it's a
33 inning baseball game.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, longest ever in baseball history.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that scorecard is in the Hall of Fame. So what's crazy is some of the guys that were in that game was like Wade Boggs was on the Pawtucket Red Sox. That game. Cal Ripken was on the Red Wings side, and who else was on this? Guy named Steve Grilly. I don't know if you know Jason Grilly. Steve Grilly's his father. So he was the pitcher. He actually, I think he got the loss in that game. So the way the story goes, and obviously, it's not all he's up my day. He's from upstate, yeah, Syracuse. Yeah, he owns, I think, a bar and grill up in Syracuse area, his dad. But so I guess it was an incredibly cold night, and the wind was insane, my dad said. So my dad actually started, it's funny how my dad got in the game, because he was a starter on that team, and he broke his finger, and so he was on the DL when the game started. So he didn't get... And
it took long enough for him to heal to get in the game?
Basically, no. So what happens, they play this game, and, it's going... I don't know how many innings it ended up, going that first night, but it's like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And they're trying to call the commissioner to figure out what to do. Because they didn't know what to do. They're like, do we just keep playing? And, no one was scoring. I do think if you look at the scorecard, they score, in the extra innings, and then the next team scores to tie it up again. So, of course, it works that way. You know what I mean? But so they couldn't get a hold of the commissioner, so they just kept playing. Well, eventually the commissioner woke up and answered his phone. It was like, stop the game. We'll continue it next time you guys play each other, which is where my dad ended up, once he was off the DL, he was back in the lineup. So my dad, in that 33 inning game, he went 0 for 1. It was 0 for 1. There were some guys that they went 0 for, I think, the whole game, because it was a 3-2 ball game. And my dad said there were so many times where a guy would bomb a ball, and they'd be like, "Oh, game over," and the wind would just knock it down. It'd be like a pop up to the infield. He said it was insane. The wind.
You could be 0 for 16 or 17, probably.
Yeah.
If you had an over that.
Yeah, it doesn't help your batting average, Dush. and pitchers' ERAs were probably really helped out with that. No one was really scoring.
Yeah, that's what you want first.
But yeah, so talk about a long game.
That's a long.
I don't think a lot of people stayed for even into the night, because again, it was miserable weather. So like, and I think they might have given something out to like a couple of the fans that actually stayed for every single inning and then came to the next one. And I think it ended up being pretty anticlimactic because they restarted and now everyone's coming out. Because you're thinking this could go another 7 innings before someone scores. I mean, even on a new day, it's not like every team scores in the first or second inning.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think they made it 2 innings before the game was over. And then they started the next game with a doubleheader. Yeah, it was like, it could have been 30, 38, 39, and maybe got to 40. And nope, it just like game over within like a couple innings.
That's crazy.
Yeah, no, that's funny. But all right, I want to get your reaction to this video.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, you already know it. Let's play this. Do we have sound on it? Do we have sound on this? Oh, you know what? It might be here. Here, start it over. I gotta hear this.
Look at that skinny fella.
That's what Grace kapag valore po about that it is the hot surface they that it knew it move out there right now that also
There you go. So that we never launched that. That's never been
I was saying I couldn't find it anywhere.
Yeah, it's never been a website. But okay, so that's my best friend in the whole world.
Really?
Yes. And so he we grew up together from I think he came over in like first grade, and our dads were best friends.
Okay.
So that's how we became best friends. And he ended up, his dad was a professional wrestler.
Really?
He was King Haku, also known as Ming. He's like a big mentor to The Rock.
Really?
And then he's got a couple of sons and a daughter, but all three of the boys are professional wrestlers, and they were over in Japan wrestling. This was actually before they even got to Japan. This was he was still in the United States wrestling, or maybe Mexico. But I was like, man, you should start. I had started seeing a little success with You Go Pro Baseball,
Yeah.
So I'm trying to put my boy on, like, let's get this pro wrestling going. But we never got into, we never did anything with it. But anyway, he ends up going to signing a great contract in Japan, which is their highest level, like WWE in Japan.
He did.
Yeah, all three of the brothers. Yep. So they're wrestling over there, and he was doing that for years. And I was like, man, I got to come over and see you and watch you. And then, he was like, I saw him when he was back home again, because he would go back and forth. He was over there for a long time, but he would make trips back home. And one time I saw him, he's like, hey, listen, don't tell anyone, but, I think I might be signing with the WWE. So if you were going to come see me in Japan, you need to come see me. So anyway, that's me. I took my son over there. We did some baseball stuff over there. Went to a batting cage over there. And the big event was in the Tokyo Dome, too. So we were in the dugout and got to go in the locker rooms and see all that stuff. But we went over there, watched him in the big match, and his brother. And then he ended up signing with the WWE. He's huge in the WWE right now.
Oh my gosh! I didn't realize
his name's Tamatonga, and
I didn't realize it was the same guy, because I knew that you had some friends that were in WWE. Yeah. So when I saw this video, I had no idea. Obviously, he's much younger than what I see. It doesn't look exactly the same. I had no idea it was the same person.
Yeah, that's Tamatonga, and then his brother Tangaloa, and then we're just waiting on the youngest brother to come over.
So potentially three brothers in the WWE.
Yeah, and they're killing it right now. They're killing
family, friends, grew up as tight as that's amazing. Yeah. See, you should have started You Go Pro Wrestling. It would have been big time.
Right, yeah. Could have been. But no, he's killing it, man. They're all killing it. They're doing great, and they're is awesome. I don't know if anyone's a wrestling fan, but they're killing it.
That's really cool, man. Yeah, I thought that was cool, and I was going through some videos. I'm like, this kind of popped out of nowhere, all baseball stuff. Then I see a wrestling video mixed in the middle.
We actually did another video years later. It was on how to charge the mound.
Oh, really?
But he did it as like a wrestler. He charged the mound, and I hit him, and like I clothesline and it does a flip, and it was funny. And then he drop kicked me, or I drop kick him. I forget what happened, but
Did you ever consider trying to get into that space?
no,
No, not at all. Not at all.
no.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well,
We played high school baseball. He was on the high school baseball team. He was gonna help me fight the
He was
state champion.
was he?
Yeah.
That's great. Oh my gosh. Well, dude, thanks you for coming, man. I really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you for having me.
What I like to do a lot of times, just kind of offer up you a moment to maybe give just a piece of advice. It could be anything. It could be, again, it could be, I always say it could be about baseball. It could be about life. It could be about parenting. Whatever kind of comes to mind that you can leave. And we have a lot of parents. We have a lot of kids that watch us, coaches, someone with your experience in the game, around the game, life experience. I just like to kind of open it up for you to give any advice that kind of comes to mind as we close it out.
Yeah, just something that popped in my head after watching that and talking and hearing all this. I think creating an environment for your young athlete is huge. Like the environment in which they grow up in, I think has a way bigger role than people think. Meaning like the friends that you have around and the friends that they have around, the area that you live in, the team that you decide to join, whatever it is, the environment that you create or put your player into has a much bigger role than I think that we think sometimes. So be mindful of that.
That's awesome, man. Well, thank you. And if you made it to this part of the podcast, thank you for sticking around so long. And if you want to watch some of our other podcasts, feel free to click on some of the links. We'll leave them below. We'll also attach John's YouTube link and stuff. If you don't already follow him, you should below. And until next time, God bless.
Sweet. I got Pete. I was going to say